Welcome back to our Breakthrough Podcast. Welcome. I am your host, Renee Taylor, and I am super excited about the treat we have for today. This is such an amazing woman, someone who's an inspiration to me, someone that I've actually been featured on her show several times, and it is such a pleasure and honor to have her here today to be my special guest, Dr. Karoline Bethia Jones. How are you tonight?
I am good, and I am happy to be your guest. It's amazing. You are amazing, and I'm happy to be
Thank
here. Thank
you.
you for inviting me.
Thank you. Of course.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this because, like you said, I've been on your show so many times, and to
Yes.
be able to tap into your energy and everything that you've been through in your journey is going to be a treat for everybody that's listening and watching. So, first off, just jump right into it. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, I'm Dr. Caroline Bethia Jones. I am a wife. I am a mother. I am a grandmother twice. Um, by day, I'm a administrative assistant at a technical high school. And then once I get off work, I become who I am, who I like to believe I am. Um, I am a entrepreneur like yourself. I am an author. I'm a publisher. I'm a playwright. I also have a women's ministry, but it's more like a women's empowerment ministry because I focus on empowering women to be their best selves, using what God has given them to soar and to be their best self. Not, we don't put ourselves up against nobody else. It's not about a mass of people doing a lot of things. It's about what you can do, what God gave you to do. So I try to promote women's empowerment, and that's the job that I actually am most proud of. Not most proud of. I'm proud of being a mother and a wife and a
Yeah.
grandmother, but I'm very proud of the direction that God has put me in and empowering women to be their best self. So
Yes. Oh, well, I
I
love
am.
that. I'm all about women. I'm all about
Yes.
empowerment and sisterhood. I know is a major component of your
Hmm.
brand and your business and everything that you are. So talk a little bit about how you got to this space of wanting to really hone in on women empowerment and making sure that you can get that message out to the world. Where did that start for you?
You know, I'm really glad you asked that question because I kind of don't remember the day it started.
Okay.
I remember that I was heavily into my own spiritual walk and doing a lot of Bible study. And I remember that I was not able to get the kind of study that I needed from just going to church or, you know, Bible study that they offer at church. And then I started to just on my own, just try to find a way that I could better understand my spiritual walk.
Mm.
And in better understanding my spiritual walk, I wanted other women who may have been struggling also with finding their spiritual walk. I figured we can do this together. And then as the years went by, the more I studied, the more I learned. And the key point here is learned. I realized that it wasn't just about Bible study. It was really about using the power that God has given you to literally live the life that you choose to live. Because I really believe that we're given this amazing gift by God, this gift of the Holy Spirit that allows us to become so. Um, if I say God, like I don't want people to say that I'm trying to claim to be God,
Oh,
but
okay. Okay.
the power of God that lives inside of us that allows us to live our best life. And so many people, so many women don't realize that they have been also given this amazing power to be able to live the kind of life that they want to live. So once I realized that that can be unleashed in me, it can be unleashed in everybody else. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to not even so much be a teacher as it is to be a guide, to guide you to see
Yeah.
your own life because you don't need me to teach you. You just need to realize who you are. And once you realize who you are and the power that you possess, then you can go on to do what you intended to do. And so,
Wow.
It just became something that I had to do. I had to do it. I couldn't stop doing it. When I wanted to be a writer, I just became a writer. When I wanted to
Wow.
publish, I just published myself. When no one else wanted to publish me, it was like, okay, well, now I guess I'm a publisher because I'm going to publish
Yeah.
myself. And then when I
Yeah.
wanted to become a playwright, I said, well, okay, I can't get nobody to help me. I'm just going to become a playwright. And then, um, I just decided that I wasn't going to allow somebody else to stop me dead in my tracks. There were things that I wanted to do in my life, and there were things that I wanted to try, and there was things that I wanted to understand about myself, and I couldn't allow somebody else to dictate my life. I had to be in charge. But when I say I have to be in charge, I'm not talking about just under my own power. I'm talking about the power of my creator who created me to do good works. And if I was
Yes.
created to do good works, then I wanted to do those good works. And I wanted to encourage all the other women that I had opportunity to meet, even such as yourself, to know that they also can do good works because good works
Mm.
is in us.
Oh my goodness. First off, we have to stop there because you said so many good things that I want to make sure that everybody catches. Because, first of all, just an amazing awakening that an awareness that you had throughout your life. Like you talk about spiritual walk, right? Because some
Mhm.
people don't even know what that means, right? So I'm going to ask you in a minute to break down some of the amazing things that you just talked about. Your
Mhm.
spiritual walk. You talked about, ever learning, ever evolving, understanding that it's not even about the teaching, it's about the guidance that,
Right.
and as you're guiding, you're walking with them. So, at what point in your life, what age was it, something in your lifetime where there was like some type of pivotal moment or circumstance that compelled you to even question this spiritual
Mhm.
walk and actually walk it? Because there's a lot of things we can research stuff, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes people were just curious, right?
Mhm.
Some people have
Mhm.
a thirst for knowledge, but then they don't necessarily apply it. So
Right.
where did that start for you?
Well, I had an amazing mother. All of us could probably start there. I had an amazing mother who was God fearing and loving and kind, and everything she did for the love of God. She understood the idea of worshiping God in everything that she did. And my mom had 12 kids, so I am one of
Wow.
12.
Where do
So
you fall in that 12?
I am number 6.
Oh my
I,
goodness, right in the
I am
middle.
my mother's sixth child and her second daughter.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
so
So that's
so
special.
you can imagine, um, with 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 all of that going on, how I can be lost in the mix.
Yeah.
So I was always a child that seemed to be um, compliant. It almost
Okay.
seemed like I was born compliant. I always wanted to please my mother. I
Mhm.
always wanted to do good. I was the goody two shoes.
Uh,
I always wanted to be good. I didn't want to be bad. I mean,
yeah.
I wanted to be my mother's good child. I felt like she had
Aw.
like 12 kids that she didn't
You didn't want to give
somebody
her no
had to,
trouble.
right. I didn't want to give her no trouble. And it's funny because my mother told me that out of all 12 of her kids, I was the only child that never really cried as a baby.
Aw.
So she said that she was able to leave me in the bed in my little crib and then go do the things. She's still running around after other kids and stuff like that, but she says
That's
she
funny.
remembers specifically that I never cried and I never fussed and I always stayed put.
So you had this
And
calmness already.
I had a calmness about me. But I often say that I always remember that when I got old enough to really understand the world around me, which I don't know, maybe what's that, 7, 8, 9 years old,
Okay.
still young, still a
Yes,
young
very young.
child. I literally had an awareness of the spirit of God around me. My mom talked about God all the time. She was she read to us. We knew about God probably in her womb. You understand? And
Right.
I
Yeah.
always had an awareness of God all around me, even when I was a little girl. So I was always curious. always wondered where I came from, always wondered how the world began, always wondered. And think about when you're a little kid and you're always wondering about things and you're asking questions, people shoo you away. I got shooed
Right,
away a
because
lot
you're a kid. Yeah.
because I'm
Wow.
a kid, and
Mhm.
you're told to stay in a kid's place and, don't worry about that, and stuff like that. But I always had this awareness around me that there was something bigger than me, and I was always curious. So my curiosity started very early. And I
Yeah.
started writing very early because I started writing poetry, these super spiritual poems and essays
Wow.
when I was like 10, 11 years old.
Oh my
Because
goodness. Did you submit
I
it
was
in
always,
school? Okay.
no, not even in school, just at home.
Okay. Now, did you submit the
Because,
essay to anything though? So,
no, I always just kept them
oh,
to myself,
oh wow.
because
Okay.
I was always wondering and writing about the universe and everything that I thought the universe could be and who God was and how he
Wow.
could be in my life. So this started very, very, very young with me. I started that very, very young. So I always had a spiritual awareness, and I always walked in a spiritual sense. I always knew God was with me all the time. So my
Wow.
spiritual journey started very young,
Yeah.
quite
Seven and
quite
eight.
possibly, yeah, quite possibly when I was 7 or 8 years old. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that's so amazing. First off, the fact that you were saying that, you were writing and
Hmm.
so you already had this really strong form of expression. And then you
Hmm.
talked about, you wrote as you would want the world to be. So you had this vast imagination. I love that you
Yeah.
talk about your mother because you had someone to model
Yes.
something for you, and that's a beautiful thing. And being a middle child, like you said, I know middle children, sometimes you
Yeah.
can have the middle children syndrome, and the fact that I don't know, you made yourself your own, you came into your own, you almost had your own little space and own little world that you created, and it really just guided you on your way to how you would be, because you just said before how you wanted to publish. If you couldn't find someone to
Hmm.
publish, you published for yourself. You wanted to start writing and be a playwright, then you're going to
Yeah.
go ahead and do that. And so talk about, because that takes a lot of courage, everything that you said that you've done in life, that you
Hmm.
did not wait for the permission to do it, is super
Hmm.
powerful. So talk about, and I know your mother was a huge foundation of that, but as you got older, and now let's say you're out of the house, right, and you're no longer in your mother's care. Talk about where you drew strength and courage, and this sense of empowerment to take these leaps and bounds, because these are no easy
Yeah.
feat, that you embarked upon. So talk about that.
Okay. It's it's funny you should say that because I stayed in my mother's care until I was in my husband's care. You know,
Oh,
and
wow. Oh, wow. We
and
should talk
and
about that.
that's a journey, and that's a journey in its own,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my now husband,
Yeah.
him and I have been together now for 41 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. But we've
That's
only been married
beautiful.
for 31 years because he made me chase him for 10 years.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. But still 31, that's a
Yeah.
long time. That is something
Right.
to be proud of.
Yeah. So I met him when I was 19 years old.
Oh my
So I was
That
still in
was
my
young.
mother's. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. I was still in my mother's house,
Okay.
still in my mother's care. When I left my mother's house, I moved in with my now husband.
Wow.
So I lived a very sheltered life. I didn't have a whole lot of um, running around,
Yeah.
going to places and shows and bars and stuff like that where you're trying to get your feet wet. I didn't have any
Okay.
of that.
So you were on
Yeah.
no dating apps.
No, no, no.
Right. I
And
know we
it's
didn't have
funny.
dating apps then.
And I'm telling on myself, but my husband was like my second boyfriend. So
Oh,
you know
oh
what
my
I mean?
goodness. I love
Wasn't a
love
lot of
stories
date. There
like
was
that.
no real dating. There was no. My mother was very protective of her girls.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's
So I
beautiful.
I didn't really do any of those things. Um, and so my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we kind of grew into this thing together.
Yeah, at 19. Yeah, my goodness.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that
And
is
then
so beautiful.
yeah, yeah, so um he is still a mentor,
Okay.
someone that I look up to. He has a great personality. He
Hmm.
has a great spirit. No one can pull him down. In fact, I think when I met him at 19 years old, I was still very insecure and
Wow. Okay.
very timid and very shy.
Okay.
And so I think my time with him is
Hmm.
what got me to be a little bit more open, because he's open and loud and expressive, and so there wasn't going to be too many years that I was going to be timid and shy, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
um, through the years, as we did everything together, and when we were younger, we did everything together. We even wrote together. He's a prolific writer himself, and
Yeah.
wordsmith, and we wrote together.
Oh,
We started
nice.
writing songs together. We did everything together. So
Oh my goodness.
I
And you know what?
learned,
It's so beautiful and you're still together. Like that's
yeah,
major. Major. Oh
yeah.
wow. Oh my
So
goodness.
I did all my learning with my partner. we
Okay.
had to we had to grow up together and learn together. But
Okay.
with that comes a lot of hardships as well.
I
To
was just
sit here
about
and
to ask
say,
you that.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
To
it
sit
sounds like
here
a
and
beautiful
say
love
that it was
story.
all good. No, it wasn't all good. We went through a lot of hardships.
Hmm.
Trying to understand each other, learn each other. A lot of tears. I shed a lot of tears,
Okay.
went through a lot of misery. But all of those experiences is what got me closer in my spiritual walk,
Okay.
because I didn't have a lot of friends.
Mm,
So
right.
whenever I would have issues or go through what I went through in relationships, as we're trying to navigate this thing called relationship, I'm
Right.
20
And
years
love.
old. I'm 21, right? Then I had my first child, and then it was crazy. The
Mm,
only person that I had to really talk to was my mom,
yeah.
and outside of my mom, it was my relationship that I had already developed with
With
my
God.
creator.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time building those two relationships. So I was really close to my mom, and then
Hmm.
also really close to my spiritual side, because it was the only outlet that I really had, which threw me into my studies. So that's the
Wow.
reason. Sometimes
Okay.
situations in life throw you into another place. If I
Okay.
would have been all happy and things would have been great, who knows? Maybe I would not have taken this path. But my life was not all happy. It was hard, and it was
Okay.
confusing,
Okay.
and it was sorrowful and depressing at a lot of times. I didn't know how to pull myself out of that depression and that sorrow. I remember every spring, it seems like my
Mm,
a hole opened up in the ground, and wanted to drag me
really?
in. I don't even understand what springtime had to do with it, but every
Okay.
springtime I remember I was very depressed and very sad all the time, and
Wow.
I had to overcome a whole lot. So,
So question, because and that and it's very odd, right? And interesting that you say spring, because springtime's my favorite season. But
hmm
then again, they do talk about seasonal depression, that is true. It's real. Like whereas for me, in the winter months when it gets dark and
hmm
cloudy, that significantly affects my mood, right? So
hmm
and you also talked about how you didn't have a lot of friends. Now,
hmm
was that a deliberate thing for you to be closed off, for you to just to kind of go into your shell, or was that just something because you like you said your mom was very protective of you guys? I know
yeah,
I lived a very sheltered life too, so I understand how that is. Um, and I
yeah,
know you said that you had to pull yourself out. So talk a little bit
yeah.
about some of the things that you did to pull yourself out of, springtime or seasonal sadness, and why you felt like maybe you pulled away or you didn't have a lot of friends, and if
hmm
that was like a deliberate thing for you.
I don't think it was deliberate,
Okay.
because um, I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, Teaneck.
Okay. Okay. I'm
And
familiar.
that was like, I had lots of friends when I was growing up. But
Yeah.
then
I know you're
When
such an amazing person. I was like, what do you mean you didn't have a lot of friends?
yeah, but what happens is when you're in a pivotal time in your life, like I was when I was 14 years old, we lost our home in Teaneck and we had to move. And so I moved to Hackensack, which is really another town away, but I had no friends.
Oh,
And
it's
it
different. Like
was
you had to start over. Okay.
and I had to start all over. And like I said, it wasn't like I was allowed to get on a bus and go. I couldn't go anywhere. We had to stay.
Okay.
Um, my mom didn't let me really go too many places. So I'm in this new school. I don't know anybody. It was hard to make friends. It was, so um, that's it's just the way things landed.
Okay.
I believe that if I was still in Teaneck, if I had grew completely up in Teaneck and I remained with my friends, my life might have been different. But because
Mm.
we had to start all over, and I was a super shy little girl,
Okay.
young woman, it wasn't like, I was this person who was going to make friends. So it was
Oh,
more
okay.
or less, I was too shy and scary, to go out and make friends. So the people I knew, and I didn't really try to do anything different about that.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
it's. I always say, looking back on my life, I say it's sometimes it's better off, right? We were better off with the
hmm,
sheltering and the covering and the protection we
yeah,
had, and then the fact that you started over. Sometimes it's like it propels us into like who we're gonna be and who we're gonna become. And I
yeah.
know you mentioned that earlier, and so talk a little bit about how you said that you sometimes had that sadness. You had to pull yourself out. Um,
Hmm.
talk about some of the practices that helps you when you want to feel strong, you want to feel empowered, you encourage yourself, because I know you to be a powerhouse, a
Hmm.
wordsmith, and someone, you're a director of your own life. You're a director of a lot of things that you've been doing, of course, with the
Hmm.
help of God. But talk about some of the things that you do to encourage yourself for someone that is listening who might be in that seasonal transitional spot that you were in.
Okay. Well, depression is very hard to navigate. It really is. Um, when you're going down, when you're spiraling down that dark tunnel, it's like you think everything is just doomed, right?
Yeah.
Um, for me, though, I always had an internal relationship with, again, like I said, my spiritual self. So I always had to talk. I always talked to God. Like, that I think there was a book called um, "Hello, God, Is Me, Margaret."
Yeah.
That could have been my life. Hello, God, Is Me, Caroline, because I was always. It was always me and God.
Yeah.
I had to talk to God because it was like, who else am I going to talk to? You know what I mean? So I pulled myself out of my depression by focusing on my relationship with my creator to try to find my higher purpose because I
Yeah.
couldn't really,
I like
I
that.
didn't know who I was, what I wanted to be, but I knew that there's no way that I was in this world with no purpose. So I always wanted to know what my higher purpose was, and I always tried to
Yeah.
find my higher self. So I I guess I pulled myself out of my depression by always moving toward my highest possible self.
I
That
love
means I would have
that.
to talk to myself too, and I would
Yeah.
have to pull my um, what encourage myself. You know what I mean? Talk to
Yeah.
myself, encourage myself, as if I was in the third person.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
I know what
so,
you mean. Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. I understand that. Oh my goodness. Well, Dr. Caroline, it's been amazing. I've got to definitely make sure that we get these nuggets, the things that you just been
Mhm.
dropping, because what a beautiful story, right? A beautiful love story in the midst of that, the love
Mhm.
story with your mother, right? Your husband, the love story with God, right? The fact that
Yeah.
every minute, I mean, I'm thinking 7, right? So young that and I'm looking at you now, right? And
Mhm.
grandmother times two.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so that
Times
is a,
2. Mhm.
yeah, so that's like a long journey of really walking with God and allowing him to guide you and surrender to everything that you were going through and to not shy away from it. So I appreciate you sharing your story and being
Mhm.
so vulnerable. I appreciate that you said your higher purpose, that you always
Mhm.
knew and that you allowed that purpose. It's almost like they say with the end in mind, that your higher purpose really allowed you to keep taking steps forward, and that is so beautiful. That's what we talk about when we're speaking
Mhm.
about a breakthrough. It's the only way to the other side is through, and so you continue to walk. So I appreciate that you talked about that. You talked about the learning, and asking yourself the hard question about who am I, you
Mhm.
know and really waiting for the answer, and or
Mhm.
searching for the answer, and not giving up. And like you said, talking to yourself and encouraging yourself, just talking things out loud sometimes
Yeah.
really helps. So that's important for people to get as well, when you're trying to come out of something. Like you said,
Right.
come out of depression, come out of sadness, come out of a dark hole, come out of a tough situation. So that is amazing that you are ever evolving, ever seeking, ever learning. And I think someone is definitely going to be changed and definitely moved by and inspired by your story and what you've been through to now
Mhm.
be mother, wife,
Mhm. Yeah.
grandmother, playwright, publisher, author. I mean, among other things that we probably didn't even have a chance to talk about. So
Right.
I really, really appreciate you being here today. I want the people to know how they can find you or reach you. And if there's something that you're offering in your business that you want people to know about, I want you to have an opportunity to tell them now.
All right. Thank you. Um, well, through the years, I developed my own ministry. It's not a preaching ministry. It is, like I said, an empowerment ministry. It's called Sisters, Helping Sisters in Christ Ministry. And it's called that because that's what we do, sisters, helping sisters in Christ ministry. So, because of COVID, we have not been able to have the workshops that we normally have. We normally have workshops, and we um, invite you out to participate in these workshops. But we have been doing some Zoom lessons, and we have a new lesson that's actually going to be starting in January. We're going to do our 40-day soul fast, and
Ooh,
so we're gonna work
so
um,
fast.
on that. I will be providing the information for that. But if you want to reach me, you can reach out to me on my website, which is um, S. I got it now. I got to do it. SHSIC Ministry.
Okay. Yeah, I
And,
know. I have to write it out too.
yeah,
SHSIC Ministry. Got it. Yep.
right.
Because something about writing it out.
Right, because it's Sisters Helping Sisters in Christ
Yep.
ministry. So it's just the
Hmm.
letters, right? So
Okay.
I gotta say that to myself. But
Awesome.
yeah, and it's .com. So
Okay.
we have a website, and everything I do is on the website. You can
Okay.
also reach me at the same thing, SHSIC ministry at gmail.com. Um,
Awesome.
yes, I
Okay.
answer all of that as well. I have a couple of things going on, but everything is on the website. So if you want
Okay.
to check me out, I also have a podcast, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Okay. What's the
Yes.
name of your podcast? Tell
My
them because
podcast is called, yes, my podcast is Real Talk with Real People, a candid conversation with Dr. Caroline Bethia Jones. And I just have people come on and we have candid conversations, pretty much like we're having right now. I
Yes.
usually have a subject or two that, to get us started. And I just allow individuals to come and tell their story. Talk to me candidly about their spiritual walk or their entrepreneurship or whatever it is that they want to talk about. And we're hosted by Podbean. And I usually have a podcast that I put out once a month, and it always comes out on the 20th of the month. So on December 20th, I'll be putting out my newest version. And then starting in January, I start a new season of podcast guests. And, you know,
All right.
The 20th of,
Okay.
20th of the month. Yeah. I have a
Awesome.
couple, I also have a couple of books out you can find on Amazon. Um, .com. You can just Google my name. Everything will pop up.
Okay. Yeah, and of course, and they have your website, so that I'm sure the website can definitely link them to some other things.
Yes.
And no need to worry, all that will be listed below, so everybody can click right on it, and find you and plug
Mhm.
in, and of course plug in to Real Talk with real
Real
people
talk.
and a conversation
Real
with Dr. Carolina.
talk.
Dr. Caroline. But oh my goodness,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Again, you are listening to our Breakthrough Podcast, where we will give you the breakthrough map to take you from breakdown to breakthrough, from pain to
That's right.
purpose, from your past to living your greatest story. I am your
That's right.
host, Renee Taylor, and make sure you like and subscribe our Breakthrough Podcast on all social media platforms. And until next time, keep breaking through.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.